Yo, what is up, everybody? I know it's been a minute since I uploaded for you guys, but I got ill. Simple as that. That's not the important part. The important part is rocking and rolling. The channel's gonna hopefully catch up because a lot of things happened in between my absence, and I'll tell you what. I'm glad that you guys are still around. I'm glad I'm still around. And because hey, a lot of things kind of depend on me to be around. Now, I don't have the book. Do not have the book that I read, and I highly recommend that a good portion of people, maybe even high schoolers, around the nation, to read it. And the book I'm talking about is Animal Farm. I borrowed it from a friend. Did a little trade off because it was one of those deals. I just, it just seemed fair. Seemed fair. What I traded it for was, I can get them any other day. Yeah. Anyway, y'all gonna have to excuse me. I was kind of working on a project, then it kind of occurred to me I hadn't uploaded. I haven't had much good amount of free time, but here I am, rock and roll. So forgive me for the distraction. Anyways, so why I recommend it? Well, I'll be honest with you. The reason why I recommend it because I think it could actually somebody that's out there that's trying to find his purpose, his or hers, whatever, and they join a group and they're second guessing the leadership, second guessing their role within the leadership or within the actual group, community, organizations, whatever it may be. And why I say it could be a book that could be mentioned in or even read out loud in high schools, maybe even college. I don't know. I went to a technical college, so I wouldn't know what kind of stuff goes down in universities. I really don't know. But to make the long story short, mainly because it allows them to think, allows them and one of the best things about having a young person that's probably fairly educated, average education, to allow them to go ahead and start asking why, and not in a way of just being outright just just belligerently just saying why should I do this from this order from this person or so on and so forth. It's not so much that it's just one of those deals where it can actually give them a little bit of learning. And to be honest with you, I did find small correlations to the whole thing from 1984. And as I've spoken about it with a few friends, and especially one good friend of mine, where it was just that book, 1984, it's been dissected by every which way you can think of. And possibly same thing could be said about Animal Farm. And it's one of those deals where you're man, you can almost question yourself. And one of the things that helped me went ahead and read the book was my friend told me try to just split it down the middle, that they're not animals. Think of the name and just add a face to it, add a human body to it. That way it doesn't get confusing. And I'm not saying it's that confusing, because a lot of things just don't kind of make a whole lot of sense of how do pigs talk, how do horses talk amongst each other, how do geese do this, that, and the other, and it helped and I understood it, and I'll be honest with you, it was just a good book. I'm gonna have to go ahead and get me a handful of copies, because I'm still keeping true to my word. Once I reach my 10th subscriber, hey, I'm gonna show you my wall of books that I got, the ones that I've read, the ones that I haven't read, and hey, free of charge, I'll send it to you, because that's just my little way of doing it. And frankly, my friend, he was like, hey, I'm just passing on knowledge down the road. You didn't have to trade me much. And I'm like, yeah, but I just felt like doing it. What are friends for, right? Anywho's, so it was just a good book. I the whole time when I was just stuck here, just right here, literally right here, trying to just kind of bypass the hours, looking at the sun coming down and whatnot, stuck in quarantine, couldn't go anywhere, couldn't do anything. I just didn't put the book down. I just wanted to finish. I just wanted to read it, And I've actually made the mistake on a few books that I haven't reviewed for you guys yet, because maybe I'll return to them to see some keynotes and whatnot. Because there were some books that when I first started this, I read them a little too fast. It was a fast read. I was like, wow, it took a week to do this? That's crazy. But hey, that's neither here nor there. But man, Animal Farm, it definitely caught me, and I won't ruin too much for you guys. You know, what category it falls under, I'm not 100% sure. But it was also one of those deals where I was just kind of like, man, dude, like this book, it gripped me. I wanted to see what was gonna happen. After the battle, after the second battle, how And the funny thing is, I was actually telling my wife as I kept reading, I almost thought I can see what's gonna happen next, and that was kind of like the one thing about it. I went in kind of skeptical and trying to kind of map out a plan of what's gonna happen, and I was completely wrong the whole ride over, even in the way where I was even confused. Like trying to like understand correctly like what is going on here, and that can do it for me. I'm pretty sure it can do it for a good amount of readers out there. I was actually surprised where I went when I was reading 1984. A handful of people at work, they would just kind of say, "Oh man, I read that book." And have you read Animal Farm? I've heard the name. They're like, "We read that in high school," and it got me thinking. Like, and I wonder how many high schools would have this book. Not for George Orwell or anything like that. It was just like, I mean, this sounds like a pretty good book to have in the schools, And I remember when we had The Outsiders, still one of my favorite books from S.E. Hampton. One of my favorite books. I have it, and it was one of those things like as you look at it, it's like kind of like some people can say it's a battle between rich and poor, and the different outcomes and so on and so forth. I never saw it that way. I just saw it as a pretty good book. It's a pretty good read, and when people want to, dissect it for what it is, I can understand that part, but I just kind of saw it as a good book. But all in all, man, Animal Farm. It was a good book. It was a good read. I'm going to add it to the collection for sure. It's definitely what I'm going to do. And I don't like, and just like my friend, he didn't want to spoil it for me. And I'm not going to spoil it for you guys too. But it was also one of those things like why I didn't understand why he, like when we was talking, like before, like I had taken off and went my way to go and read it. He just kept saying like hell, all animals are created equal. And man, now I know why he said that. They're reading the book, and man, it was just one of those deals. I'm like, man, that people that like just randomly join groups, they should probably like read this book, or people that are in groups, whatever it may be, they should probably like just read this book so they can like start asking the questions why. And that's always a good thing in my opinion. I think like that's good to have that, whether you're scared to ask it or maybe it's there but you haven't figured out how to ask it. And you might say, well, where's the correlation? What got you to think that? But and I think, and I like to say, I think that's what it is. It gives you a reason to ask why. Why are you within this group? Why are you within this organization? And it's just not going where you think it should have been. The one thing that they promised, or one thing that they said, or the reason why you're doing it is not. It started off that way, but it didn't end that way, and it's not going that way. And it. Oh man, like I would love to talk about it more. I just don't want to ruin it for you guys because man, like they didn't ruin it for me. A friend didn't ruin it for me, and I had to put in the work myself, and I wasn't going anywhere. I was stuck here in this little work area. That's what I was doing, and man, was it kind of fun. And I was just, it was weird too. I was actually like rocking out to a band called To Die For, and I didn't know their albums, but I was like, wow, it was music just for some reason in my head. It went well with actually reading it. I'm not saying that's what y'all have to do. I mean, I obviously like metal, of His Infernal Majesty. I mean, that's what I was listening to when I was reading it as well. Just I don't know, the melody went well with it. I don't know. Like some people can function pretty well doing number. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. All I know is like numbers and science, and then there's like thrash metal playing in the background. I have no idea. Kind of like that one movie, The Accountant, and yeah, Ben Affleck is doing something with like loud seizure like lights going everywhere. I don't know how to explain it, but that's what I was doing. But anyways, I feel like I'm taking a little bit of y'all's time. Man, I highly recommend reading the book, and then maybe rereading it like once a year, because hey, things can change year by year. But man, it's just one of those books. It's just like 1984. Like I said, reread that one every 4 years. I stand by it with this one. And it's one of those books where you're like, I'm actually glad like it's there. I'm not saying I see it everywhere, parkour. You know what I mean? I'm not saying none of that. I'm not saying I see it everywhere. I'm just saying like it's one of those books that can get you thinking, and it's uh, and I just want to go into it just a little bit more, but I don't know how I can without ruining it for you guys. But with all that being said, I'm glad y'all stuck around. I appreciate y'all subscribing, and hey, hopefully I'll be able to push out a little bit more content later on. Just need to get things back in order. Need to get the train back up and chugging. Hey, it was one of those life lessons you have to kind of go through to understand. Anyways, with all that being said, thank you all for sticking around, and hey, I'll see you guys on the next one. Okay, y'all be safe, y'all be strong. I'll see you.